Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, the world and the countries behave like people, children, teenagers in the schoolyard or in the parking lot. When I was a boy or younger, people used to hang out in the schoolyard. So we have schoolyard where you have the football fields and basketball and whatever we have over there. So that's where everybody in a neighborhood was gathering in the evening, on weekends or anything like that. Good and bad, let's put it this way. Gangs were gathering over there, staying over there, smoking, and the other guys, the other gang over there, some people were playing football, soccer, some people were fighting, some people were all that. So that was the main thing. So you know the dynamic, you learn the dynamics of the schoolyard if you look around and see who's who was what. So I think the world behaves in the same way, because in the schoolyard you knew who was the guy in charge, which was always the guy who was punching the hardest. So the biggest, the fighters, the best fighter in the schoolyard, that unless an adult would show up. That was the adults then. So that was the guy who was dictating. He didn't have to do anything because everything was already set. You knew he would punch you in the face if you don't do what he says. He used a certain kind of language to make you do stuff, or you knew you have to behave in a certain way. Why? Because he set examples. That if you were frequenting the schoolyard, regularly, which I did, you would realize who's who, what's what. And then when you grow, those guys go and you become the strongest. This is the cycle of civilizations, where country gets strong and then it just dies from within, usually because it implements certain cultural and then they just destroy themselves. The problem is here we have not the problem. The fact here in this country, on this planet, is that countries whose civilization is already rotten, they have nuclear weapons. So instead of having enlightened people have that deterring mechanism, or be able to defend themselves, or make everybody else do whatever they want, they have nuclear weapons. So you're going to have baboons having nuclear weapons, and it will be baboons with an attitude, very irritated baboons. So those guys in the schoolyard, not only they can punch you, they can destroy everybody in the schoolyard, regardless how young they are, how old, how smart, or how dumb. So why did I make all this little introduction is because United States of America now is very angry that got a challenger in the schoolyard. That's always been like that in the schoolyard where I come from. You got the big guy, you got the other gang, and when you hear someone from the other gang saying something challenging the other guys, you will realize they're ready to fight. That means they pushed up, they trained, they spoke, we're gonna do it today. And these guys did not like it a bit. They try to, talk tough, threaten, come, flinch, all that. Or outright fight, and that would settle things maybe. And always after this kind of things, the other side was gaining respect, because these guys did not like really to get scratched, punched in the nose and in the balls or whatever. So they like to finish everything by threats and blackmail and that's how it was. So here we have Russia challenging that guy over there, and Russia is the other guy. China is another guy who's waiting. So there are different parts in this schoolyard that want to not be kicked around anymore by that guy. So that guy did a lot of hanky-panky. Now that guy calls out everybody else who tries to do almost a little bit of whatever that guy did. Bad things, and that's it. We have here Russia, as you know, deploys tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Wow, that's the big problem, says that guy, who deployed in 5 countries 6 bases with nuclear weapons. It's Turkey, right? It's Germany, Italy, I think it's the Netherlands, So, and I think it's Belgium or something. So something like this occurred already. Russia does the same thing under its control in Belarus, and we have a problem. The problem is that Russia dares to do it, and not only dares to do it, talks back. So that means, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight me? Let's go. And the other one is like, let's try something more weasel. Hey, what's over there? Get a slingshot, boom, in the back of the head. That's how it used to be. Or get a rock and throw it, or get a, when he's not looking, hey, what's over there? And you know how those things are like. And then this comes over, Red Rover. That's the basic thug attack, you know, like talking to you. And one does like this, hopes that you know, okay, relax, and then this comes swinging. People know what I'm talking about. People who are involved, or maybe watch some movies. That's based on reality. So we have this article from Reuters. Russia tells United States, don't lecture Moscow on nuclear deployments. Do you think that Romania would say something like this to United States, like, don't lecture us on our school curriculum? Do you think so? No, because Romania is not the other side. Romania is over there, you know, begging for anything that is going to fall from that guy's table, any little bone. Romania will be immediately... Okay? So, let's go back to these guys. So, it must be something that these guys, you know what? You have to change your attitude, because we are ready to fight. Only a strong country would say that to another strong country. Russia on Saturday dismissed criticism from US President Joe Biden, who dared, I'd say, over Moscow's plan to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, saying Washington had for decades deployed just such nuclear weapons in Europe. Now that's a fact. So if your action was, and obviously you consider it as being good, then mine should be good, unless I am bad and you're good. And that's where everything starts. You're good, I'm bad. So Russia said on Thursday it was pushing ahead with the first deployment of such weapons outside its borders since 1991, fall of the Soviet Union, and Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said the weapons were already on the move. Biden said on Friday he had an extremely negative reaction, which Russia doesn't give a fuck, to reports that Russia has moved ahead with a plan to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. The US State Department denounced the Russian nuclear deployment plan, and I'm quoting now. It is the sovereign right. Oh, sovereignty. Don't respect Ukraine's sovereignty. Yes, but not Syria's, I guess. It is a sovereign right of Russia and Belarus to ensure their security by means we deem necessary amidst of a large-scale hybrid war unleashed by Washington against us, end quote. Russia's embassy in the United States said in a statement, wow, so they call things as they see it and they don't hold back anything. So it's our right to defend ourselves against what we see as a large-scale hybrid war unleashed by you. So sit down and shut up, basically. Now, I'm quoting again. The measures we undertake are fully consistent with our international legal obligations, end quote. The United States has said the world faces the gravest nuclear danger since 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis because of remarks by, pay attention, President Vladimir Putin during the Ukraine conflict. Can you mention them? I would like to see them right here in quotation marks. But Moscow says this position has been misinterpreted. You see how they already did it? Remarks. Okay, what are the remarks? Because I covered all the remarks and I know them by heart. But I know someone else's remarks, which is Zelensky's, who asked NATO for a nuclear preemptive strike on Russia. Well, I haven't heard Putin saying the exact things about anything else. I heard him saying that Russia will use anything in its power, in its military arsenal. He didn't call it nukes. He used like this, beautiful, I would say, diplomatically, to defend itself and the statehood. And if the Russian nation's unity and sovereignty and whatever is threatened. That's what he said. He didn't say like Zelensky, hey guys, please boom preemptively. All right. Now there were some others who can identify with Mr. Zelensky, which is Ramzan Kadyrov, who said the exact thing, or we have other people from the Duma, said the same thing, but not Putin, Lavrov. I haven't heard them saying that. Maybe you did, but anyway, they give us that as it's a fact. Well, that's how you make the news. That's how you change people's opinion. You came with that little weasel right here, because of remarks by President Putin. And then they bring the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. What happened to that? Do you remember? When the missile crisis? I tell you, the official version is that Kennedy looked into Khrushchev's eyes and Khrushchev blinked like a little maiden, not Iron Maiden, and started crying and said, okay, I'm taking my nuclear weapons from Cuba. Remember, I'm taking my nuclear weapons from Cuba. Well, the story is not like that. This is the middle, adding also. The first 20% of the story and the last 20% of the story are missing. And I'm gonna share them with you. First, the United States had nuclear missiles, Jupiter they were called, in Turkey and Italy. And like right now, the United States has nuclear weapons in Europe. Soviet Union did not have nuclear weapons in Cuba or Nicaragua or Mexico or Canada. And what did Khrushchev say? He told the Americans, guys, you gotta take your nuclear weapons, not the tubes or the rockets without the nuclear warhead. No, they had it over there. Take it out of Turkey, you're too close. And these guys, like the US told the Russians, beat it. We don't care who the hell are you, Soviet Union. And that's okay, all right. And Khrushchev starts the story here for the rest of the world. So that was the first 20%. You got the Jupiters, nuclears over there. We want them to get them out because we don't feel very comfortable with you doing that. Okay, this guy said, beat it. Okay, we're going to do something to you. Yeah, what are you going to do? Maybe that. So then starts the story in the West. And evil Khrushchev, took and started bringing nuclear weapons in Cuba. Khrushchev did not bring nuclear weapons in Cuba. Cuba did not have nuclear weapons on its territory. Got it? But here we heard that bringing it, making the sites launching pads, which was correct, they were seeing the tubes. Khrushchev put those tubes so they can be seen. Why? Take your missiles from Turkey. That was the goal. We're going to make you do that. No, you won't. Yes, we will. And then said, it was the Cuban Missile Crisis. And what did they agree? Did they agree like this? Khrushchev, you take your shit, as we said in the first 20% of the conversation, out of Turkey in 6 months. And we're going to stop building our pads in Cuba. And the American says, okay, let's do it. And that's exactly what happened. The Russians did not get a chance or did not bring any new nuclear weapons in Cuba. So when you hear he took his missiles, there were not even missiles over there. They were transfer them. So they can see them on top of vessels, their pictures. Why would you do that? You're so dumb you can't hide it. I mean, please. Anyway, these guys with the U-2s saw over there. They knew it. But anyway, so what happened? Now the last 20% of the story. The Americans, the Soviets stopped their blackmail, or we're going to do the same thing you did, putting nuclear weapons near you. We're going to stop doing that, but you take your things. And they took, in the past 20% of the story, United States removed their nuclears. So who won? First, we won, because, less nuclear weapons, that's always good. And a second? All right, I let you be the judge. And now the Russians are doing the same thing. And these guys again don't like it, and they talk about the 1962, which again they should shut up, but they don't, because they know the propaganda and the story starts from the 20% to the 80%, and not a lot of people know the 20% and the 80%, the last part and the first part and the last part, because that would change the whole dynamics. They're going to point the finger to the winner and the loser differently. But hey, I'm pretty sure the Russians are saying that they won this and they won that, because that's how countries do. We all do that. Every country is a winner, not a loser. But someone must be the loser. I know the Germans are. forever and ever. Sometimes the Italians and the Japanese, but then everybody else is, we never, no. Even Romanian history talked about, the Second World War and so on, and this. I know how they used euphemism, but what do you expect to tell the nation? Hey, we're a bunch of losers here. You don't do that. You try to build a self-esteem, right? And pointing out the things that you achieved, positive things, when you were great. Like, for instance, Poland does right now, and nothing wrong with that. They try to be something they were, or even more, between, I think, 15th century and 18th century. They were a power in Europe. They were strong. Then they disappeared. And then now they want to be back again with the United States of America as the Trojan horse of the United States of America in Europe. But that's fine. That's the national interest of Poland. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing it out as I think I see it, and I think that's the way it is. I wouldn't lie to you. Anyway, let's go back here and see what anything else is. Tactical nuclear weapons are used for tactical gains on the battlefield. Okay. The Russian embassy called the U.S. criticism of Moscow planned deployment hypocritical. What do you think, my friends? Saying that, and I'm quoting, before blaming others, Washington could use some introspection. I totally agree with that. If you want to change something, if you don't want to change anything, just be the same thing. And I'm quoting, the United States has been for decades maintaining a large arsenal of its nuclear weapons in Europe. True. Together with its NATO allies, it participates in nuclear sharing arrangements and trains for scenarios of nuclear weapons used against our country. End quote. True. Now, the United States has deployed nuclear weapons in Western Europe since U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower's authorities authorized their deployment in the Cold War as a counter to the perceived threat from the Soviet Union. Now, I don't know if it was perceived or not. And the first U.S. nuclear weapons in Europe were deployed in Britain in 1954. 54. All right, so they have about 100 tactical nuclear weapons, and they tell you Italy, Germany, Turkey, Belgium, and the Netherlands. That's the countries where I told you there are 6 bases, 6 locations. So, when you say something and you accuse someone of doing something, first look in the mirror and see if you didn't do the same thing or even more or worse than that. If you have a little ounce of, fairness, justice, self-respect, introspection, and so on. And this is not to criticize... Yeah, it is to criticize, actually, a country that's hypocritical, But on the other hand, if you don't look at your mistakes, how are you going to change and improve? If you want to improve. If you don't want to improve, don't look at them. And has the chutzpah, like in the schoolyard, to go and call everybody and beat everybody else and do whatever you want. Pinch girls on their butts and everywhere else. Who's going to do anything to you? Nobody expect, her parents if we're going to catch you. That's all. Because her boyfriend will not dare doing that, or if he's going to do it, he's going to get up. All right? Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.